You are awake again. 3:17 in the morning, and your eyes have opened to the darkness. Not because of a sound, not because of a dream, but because something inside you, something you cannot name, has pulled you back from sleep. And now you are here, in this familiar territory of frustration. The anger rises first, a hot wave of it, because this keeps happening. Night after night, the same betrayal. You fell asleep so easily. The day finally released you, and for a few hours, you floated in that blessed absence. But now, here you are again, awake in the hollow hours, while the rest of the world sleeps. Your heart is beating faster than it should, your mind already racing toward tomorrow's exhaustion, and beneath it all, there is that old companion, anxiety. The question loops through your thoughts. Why does this keep happening to me? Let me tell you something that will change everything you believe about this moment. You are not broken. Your body is not failing you. What you are experiencing right now in this frustrating awakening is not a malfunction. It is a signal, an ancient, deeply intelligent, biological response that has kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Your body believes, in this moment, that you are in danger. Not real danger, but perceived danger. And the mechanism that woke you, the one you have been cursing and fighting, is actually trying to save your life. This is the false alarm bell. And once you understand why it is ringing, once you learn the language it speaks, you will finally be able to turn it off. Let us begin by naming what is happening inside you right now. Your liver, that quiet organ beneath your right rib cage, has been working all night. It has been releasing fuel, glucose, into your bloodstream at a steady pace, keeping your brain alive, keeping your heart beating, maintaining the delicate chemistry that allows sleep to continue. But somewhere around 3 in the morning, something shifted. The Amber Reservoirs, those stores of hepatic glycogen, began to run low. Not empty, but low enough that your body detected the change. And when that detection occurred, when the glucose level dipped below a certain threshold, your adrenal glands responded. They released cortisol, the alarm. Cortisol is not your enemy, though it feels that way right now. It is a rescue hormone, designed to mobilize energy when your body believes you need it. In the wild, in the environment where your biology was shaped, a drop in blood sugar during sleep meant one thing. You had not eaten enough, and you might not survive until morning. So cortisol floods your system, triggering a cascade of awakening. Your heart rate increases, your breathing shallows, your mind sharpens into alertness. You are now in a state of vigilance, scanning for threat, even though the only threat is the one your body has imagined. This is nocturnal hypoglycemia, the night crash, not a true crash, not a medical emergency, but a dip significant enough to activate your survival circuitry. And here is the cruel irony. The cortisol that woke you is now preventing you from going back to sleep. It is a chemical lock, holding you in wakefulness, even though you are safe, even though you are exhausted. You can feel it coursing through you, that jittery, uncomfortable energy. Your thoughts are spinning faster, your body feels restless, and the harder you try to sleep, the more awake you become. This is the paradox of the false alarm. The very mechanism designed to save you is now torturing you. But here's what you need to understand. What changes everything? You can deactivate this alarm, not by fighting it, not by forcing yourself back to sleep, but by speaking to your body in the language it understands, by sending signals of safety deep into your nervous system until the alarm recognizes there is no danger here. And once that recognition occurs, once your body releases the grip of vigilance, sleep will return. Not immediately, but inevitably. So let us begin the process of turning off the false alarm bell. First, we must burn off the adrenaline. The cortisol has triggered a release of adrenaline, that sharp, electric hormone that makes your heart race and your thoughts scatter. Adrenaline cannot be reasoned with. It can only be metabolized. And the fastest way to metabolize it is through breath. Not just any breathing, but a specific pattern that signals to your brainstem, the most ancient part of your nervous system, that you are safe. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Feel the rise and fall beneath your palms. Now, breathe in slowly through your nose, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel your belly expand first, then your chest. This is diaphragmatic breathing, the breath of deep safety, the breath your body recognizes from the moments before sleep. Hold that breath, just for a moment, feeling the fullness in your lungs. Now exhale, slowly, through slightly parted lips, counting to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. This is the key. The long exhale activates your vagus nerve, that wandering pathway that connects your brainstem to your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. When the vagus nerve is activated, it sends a message to your adrenal glands. Stand down. The emergency is over. Do this again. Breathing in for 4, holding briefly, exhaling for 6, and again. With each cycle, you are burning off the adrenaline, cooling down the cortisol response, bringing your heart rate back to baseline. Your thoughts may still be racing. That is normal. Do not fight the thoughts. Let them pass like clouds across the sky of your awareness, while you keep returning to the breath. In for 4, out for 6, in and out. You are not trying to sleep right now. You are simply, systematically, deactivating the alarm. After 5 or 6 cycles of this breathing, you may notice something shifting. The tight feeling in your chest beginning to soften. The racing of your heart beginning to slow. The sharp edge of your thoughts beginning to blur. This is your nervous system transitioning out of sympathetic activation, the fight or flight state, and into parasympathetic dominance, the rest and digest state. You are crossing back over the threshold from wakefulness into the territory where sleep becomes possible again. But we are not done yet. Because even though the adrenaline is dissipating, even though your heart is slowing, there is still something else happening inside you. The draining of the Amber Reservoirs. Your liver's glycogen stores, though not empty, are lower than they were when you first fell asleep. And until your body is convinced that those reserves are sufficient, until it feels the safety of steady-state energy, the cortisol will continue to whisper, "Stay alert, just in case." So now we must send a different signal. Not through food, not by getting up and eating, but through visualization and somatic awareness. Through the power of your nervous system to regulate your metabolism. Close your eyes again, if they have drifted open, and bring your attention to your liver, that dark, quiet organ beneath your right ribs. You cannot feel it directly, but you can sense the space it occupies. Imagine it now, not as a medical diagram, but as a living storehouse. Picture it filled with amber light, honeyed, golden, warm. These are the Amber Reservoirs, your hepatic glycogen stores. They are not empty, even now, even after hours of sleep. They still contain fuel. Your body just needs to be reminded of this. So visualize the amber light, glowing steadily, radiating warmth through your right side. See it pulsing gently, releasing glucose into your bloodstream, molecule by molecule, in a slow, measured, perfectly controlled flow. This is what is actually happening inside you, whether you visualize it or not. Your liver is releasing glucose right now, stabilizing your blood sugar, bringing it back up to the safe zone. But by visualizing it, by bringing conscious awareness to this process, you are amplifying your body's ability to regulate itself. You are creating what neuroscientists call interoceptive coherence, the alignment between your conscious mind and your autonomic processes. And this alignment, this recognition, tells your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, everything is okay. The reserves are full. The night will not run out. You can sleep. Breathe into this image now. In for 4. Visualizing the amber light glowing brighter with each inhale. Out for 6. Feeling the warmth spread through your torso. The glucose is flowing. Your blood sugar is stabilizing. The cortisol is no longer needed. Your adrenal glands, those small triangular sentinels perched atop your kidneys, are receiving the message. Stand down. The emergency was false, and with each breath, each visualization, the message grows stronger. You may feel a subtle shift now, a kind of settling. Not sleepiness yet, but something deeper. A sense of metabolic calm. Your body recognizing, at the cellular level, that it has enough fuel, enough oxygen, enough safety to let go of vigilance. This is the feeling we are cultivating. Not the forced relaxation that comes from trying, but the organic release that comes from convincing your biology you are safe. And now, let us address the thoughts, because even as your body calms, your mind may still be churning. Thoughts about tomorrow, about work, about all the reasons you cannot afford to lose sleep. These thoughts are also part of the false alarm. Cortisol does not just wake your body, it wakes your mind. It activates your prefrontal cortex, the planning and worrying center, and sets it spinning with catastrophic projections. But here's what you need to know about these thoughts. They are not real problems requiring real solutions. They are cortisol-generated simulations, fear loops designed to keep you alert. And the way to break these loops is not to engage with them, but to redirect your attention. Every time you notice your mind has wandered into worry, into planning, into the story of tomorrow's exhaustion, simply notice it, without judgment, without frustration. Just notice. There is the cortisol talking. And then, gently, bring your attention back to the amber reservoirs. back to the golden glow beneath your ribs, back to the breath. In for 4, out for 6. You are training your brain, in real time, to disengage from the fear circuitry. And with each redirection, each gentle return to the body, the fear circuitry weakens. The thoughts lose their urgency. They become just thoughts, passing, inconsequential, unable to hook you. This is the practice, not emptying the mind, but unhooking from its content. Breath, visualization, redirection, again and again. Each cycle, a small victory. Each return to the body, a step closer to sleep. You may find yourself yawning now. This is a very good sign. Yawning is not just a response to tiredness. It is a neurological reset. It cools the brain, increases oxygen flow, and signals the transition towards sleep. Let yourself yawn fully, stretching your jaw, feeling the release. And as you do, notice how your body feels heavier, your limbs beginning to sink into the mattress, your eyelids growing harder to hold open, the false alarm bell growing quieter. You are doing this, not by forcing, but by allowing, by speaking to your body in the ancient language of safety, and your body, finally, is listening. The cortisol is receding now, like a tide pulling back from shore. The sharp edges of alertness softening into something more diffuse. You are entering the space between waking and sleeping, that liminal territory, where consciousness becomes porous. Do not try to cross over yet. Just rest here, in this in-between place, breathing, visualizing, allowing the Amber Reservoirs glowing steady, your blood sugar stabilizing, your nervous system remembering what it feels like to be safe. And as you rest here, as you breathe, let me tell you what is happening in the deeper layers. Your hypothalamus, the master regulator in the center of your brain, is reading the signals you are sending. The slow breath, the steady heart rate, the visualization of abundance. And it is adjusting its output accordingly, reducing cortisol production, increasing melatonin release, shifting the chemical balance back towards sleep. This is not instant. The body does not flip switches. It adjusts dials. But the adjustment is happening right now. With each breath, each moment of safety, the dial turns a little more, from alarm toward rest, from vigilance toward surrender. You do not need to do anything more than what you are doing. Breathing, visualizing, trusting. The rest is already in motion. Your body knows how to sleep. It has done it thousands of times, and it will do it again tonight. Not because you are forcing it, but because you have removed the obstacles. You have turned off the false alarm bell. You have refilled the Amber Reservoirs, not with food, but with awareness. And now, your body can do what it has always known how to do. It can let go. The cortisol spike that woke you was not a malfunction. It was your body trying to protect you. But now you have shown it. Gently. Clearly, there is nothing to protect against. The night is safe, the reserves are full, and sleep is waiting for you, just on the other side of this breath. So breathe in for 4, hold, and release for 6. Again. In, out, sinking deeper, your body growing heavier, your mind growing quieter, the false alarm bell silent now, and in that silence, sleep returns. You are still here, in the quiet darkness. And that is perfectly okay. Because now that the false alarm has been silenced, now that the cortisol has begun its retreat, we can go deeper. We can travel into the hidden architecture of your body to understand the true source of your nighttime awakenings, to the place where energy is stored and released and stored again, to the organ that has been working silently, tirelessly, every single night of your life. Your liver. Most people think of the liver as a filter, a detoxifier, something that processes alcohol and medications, and it does those things. But its primary role, its most ancient and essential function, is something far more profound. Your liver is a battery, a biological energy storage system, capable of holding enough fuel to power your brain and body through the long darkness of sleep. When you eat during the day, when you consume carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose. Some of that glucose enters your bloodstream immediately, fueling your cells, powering your thoughts, keeping you moving. But the excess, the glucose you do not need right now, travels to your liver, and there, through an elegant chemical process, it is converted into glycogen. Think of glycogen as compressed energy, like coal pressed into diamonds. Hundreds of glucose molecules, linked together in branching chains, packed densely into the cells of your liver. These are the Amber Reservoirs. And when you fall asleep, when your body shifts from daytime activity into nighttime restoration, your liver begins its quiet work. It releases glucose from those glycogen stores, molecule by molecule, in a slow, steady, perfectly calibrated drip. Just enough to keep your blood sugar stable, just enough to keep your brain functioning, your heart beating, your breathing steady. Not too much, not too little, a perfect balance. This is what metabolic calm feels like. When your liver is functioning optimally, when the amber reservoirs are full, you sleep through the night without waking. Because your body never receives the signal that energy is running low. There is no dip, no crash, no need for the cortisol alarm. Just smooth, unbroken, continuous sleep. But when the reservoirs are not full enough, when they begin to drain faster than they should, that is when the trouble begins. That is when, around 3 or 4 in the morning, your blood sugar dips below the threshold, and your body, in its ancient wisdom, rings the alarm. So the question is not why do you wake up? The question is, why are the amber reservoirs draining too quickly? And the answer is more complex than you might think. It is not just about what you ate yesterday, though that matters. It is about stress and timing and the intricate dance between your hormones. Let me explain. When you experience stress during the day, any kind of stress, your body releases cortisol. This is normal and necessary. Cortisol helps you respond to challenges, mobilizing energy, sharpening focus, preparing you for action. But cortisol has a side effect. It makes your cells resistant to insulin. Insulin is the hormone that helps glucose enter your cells to be used for energy. When your cells become resistant, they reject the glucose, leaving it circulating in your bloodstream. And when glucose cannot enter your cells, your liver does not receive the signal to store it. So even if you eat enough carbohydrates during the day, chronic stress can prevent your liver from filling the Amber Reservoirs. The fuel is there, but it cannot get where it needs to go. This is why people who are chronically stressed, even if they eat well, often wake up in the middle of the night. Their livers are running on partial reserves, and by 3 in the morning, those reserves have run low enough to trigger the cortisol spike, the false alarm. But stress is not the only factor. Timing matters too. If you eat your last meal too early in the evening, say at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then do not eat again until morning, that is a long fasting window. 12, 13, 14 hours without food. And while intermittent fasting has its benefits, if your liver is not fully stocked, that long fasting window can deplete the Amber Reservoirs before morning arrives. Your body burns through the glycogen, and by the early hours, there is not enough left. The dip occurs, the alarm sounds, you wake. This is why some people, especially those with fast metabolisms or high stress levels, benefit from a small bedtime snack. Not a large meal, not something that will spike their blood sugar, but something that tops off the reserves. A spoonful of raw honey mixed into chamomile tea. A few bites of apple with almond butter. A small piece of sourdough bread with butter. These are not just comfort foods. They are metabolic insurance. They give your liver the raw material it needs to maintain steady glucose release throughout the night. But here is what is fascinating. You do not actually need to eat right now, in this moment of wakefulness, to refill the Amber Reservoirs, because your liver has a backup system, a brilliant, elegant, secondary pathway for generating glucose. It is called Gluconeogenesis, the creation of new glucose. When your glycogen stores run low, when your body detects the dip, your liver can manufacture glucose from other sources, from amino acids, from lactate, from the byproducts of fat metabolism. This process takes time, 30 to 40 minutes to fully activate. But once it begins, once your liver shifts into this mode, it can stabilize your blood sugar without any external food. This is why you do not need to get up and raid the refrigerator. Your body has the capacity to solve this problem internally. The issue is not a lack of glucose. The issue is that the cortisol spike happened before gluconeogenesis could fully engage. The alarm went off too soon, and now you are awake, caught in the loop of alertness, while your liver is quietly doing its work in the background. So what we need to do, right now, is buy your liver the time it needs, to let gluconeogenesis complete, to let your blood sugar restabilize. And the way we do that is through deep somatic awareness. By consciously connecting with your liver and supporting its function through visualization and breath. Bring your attention once again to the right side of your torso, just beneath your rib cage. Your liver sits there, about the size of a football, dark red, dense with blood vessels. Right now, in this very moment, it is working. Its cells are breaking down stored fats, converting amino acids, synthesizing new glucose molecules. The Amber Reservoirs are being refilled, not from the outside, but from the inside. Your body is taking care of you, and all you need to do is give it time. Visualize this process now. See the liver, glowing with that amber light again. But this time, watch as the light grows brighter. not from an external source, but from within the organ itself, as if each cell is a tiny furnace, burning fuel, creating warmth and energy. The glucose is being generated, molecule by molecule, and as it is created, it is released into your bloodstream, traveling through your veins, reaching your brain, your heart, every cell that needs it. Your blood sugar is rising, slowly, steadily, safely, and with each small increase, the cortisol signal weakens. The urgency fades. Your adrenal glands receive the message. We have enough. The crisis is over. Stand down. Breathe into this visualization. In for 4, seeing the amber light intensify. Out for 6, feeling the glucose spread through your body like warmth. You are not imagining this in the sense of fantasy. You are attuning to what is actually happening. Gluconeogenesis is real. Your liver is generating glucose right now. And by bringing awareness to it, by visualizing it, you are enhancing your parasympathetic nervous system's ability to support the process. You are reducing the interference of stress hormones. You are creating the internal conditions for metabolic calm. This is the power of interoception, the ability to sense and influence your internal state. Most people live entirely disconnected from their organs, from their metabolism, from the quiet intelligence of their body. They only notice these systems when something goes wrong. But you are learning, right now, to communicate with your body in its own language, to sense the amber reservoirs, to feel the glucose flowing, to know, at a deep, embodied level, that you are safe. And this knowing, this visceral certainty, is what finally deactivates the false alarm. Not logic, not reasoning, but felt safety, the kind of safety that comes from your body, not your mind. Continue breathing. In for 4, out for 6, and as you breathe, expand your awareness, from your liver to your entire metabolic system. Your pancreas, nestled behind your stomach, is also at work. It is monitoring your blood sugar, adjusting its insulin secretion, maintaining the delicate balance. As your glucose rises, your pancreas reduces insulin output. This prevents the glucose from being shunted back into storage. It allows it to circulate, to be available, to signal safety. Your hypothalamus, in the center of your brain, is reading these signals. Glucose rising, cortisol falling, metabolic stability returning, and it adjusts its output accordingly. More melatonin, less CRH, the hormone that triggers cortisol release. The chemical balance is shifting from alarm to rest, from fight or flight to rest and digest. You are crossing back over the threshold, not through force, not through willpower, but through the elegant, self-regulating intelligence of your body. And all you had to do was give it time and attention and breath. Now let us go even deeper into the amber reservoirs, because understanding how they work, understanding their capacity and limitations, will help you prevent future awakenings. Your liver can store approximately 100 to 120 grams of glycogen. That might not sound like much, but it is enough to provide your brain and body with glucose for 8 to 12 hours. More than enough for a full night's sleep. The key is ensuring those reserves are full before you go to bed. And this is where daytime eating patterns become crucial. If you skip meals during the day, If you restrict carbohydrates too severely, if you are chronically underfed, your liver never gets the opportunity to fill its reserves. You go to bed with half-empty amber reservoirs, and by 3 in the morning, they are depleted. The alarm sounds. On the other hand, if you eat too many refined carbohydrates, too much sugar, your blood sugar spikes and crashes throughout the day. Each crash triggers a small cortisol release, and by the time you go to bed, your adrenal glands are already fatigued, primed to overreact to even a small dip in nighttime blood sugar. This is why balance matters. Not restriction, not excess, but steady, consistent fuel. 3 meals a day, each containing a balance of protein, fat, and complex carbohydrates. This is what fills the amber reservoirs. This is what creates metabolic calm. Whole grains, sweet potatoes, root vegetables, fruits. These foods provide the glucose your liver needs, without the spike and crash of refined sugar. And when eaten with protein and fat, they are absorbed slowly, steadily, keeping your blood sugar stable throughout the day. This daytime stability translates into nighttime stability, because your liver, your pancreas, your entire metabolic system develops a rhythm, a predictable, trustworthy pattern. And when your body trusts the pattern, when it knows fuel is coming regularly, it does not panic at night. It does not sound the false alarm. But there is another factor we must address: alcohol. Even a single glass of wine with dinner can disrupt the amber reservoirs. Here is why. When you drink alcohol, your liver must prioritize processing it. Alcohol is technically a toxin, and your liver treats it as an urgent matter. It shifts all its resources toward breaking down the alcohol, converting it into acetaldehyde, then into acetate, then eliminating it from your body. And while it is focused on this detoxification, it stops releasing glucose. Your liver cannot do both at once. So even if your glycogen stores are full, even if you ate well during the day, alcohol creates a temporary shutdown of glucose release. And then, hours later, around 3 or 4 in the morning, after the alcohol has been processed, your liver resumes its normal function. But by then, your blood sugar has dropped. The dip has occurred. The alarm sounds. This is why so many people who drink in the evening, even moderately, wake up in the middle of the night. Not because they are drunk, not because they need to urinate, but because alcohol disrupted the amber reservoirs. It blocked the steady glucose release, creating an artificial crash. If you struggle with nighttime awakenings, and you drink alcohol regularly, this may be the primary cause. And the solution is simple. Either eliminate alcohol in the evenings, or if you do drink, consume it with food that includes protein and complex carbohydrates. This slows the absorption of alcohol, reduces its impact on your liver, and helps maintain glucose stability. But even better, skip the alcohol altogether, at least for a few weeks. Test whether your sleep improves. You may be surprised at how much of a difference it makes. Now, bring your attention back to your body, back to this moment, back to the amber glow beneath your ribs. By now, 30 or 40 minutes have passed since you first woke. Gluconeogenesis has had time to work. Your blood sugar has stabilized, the cortisol has dissipated, and your body is ready to sleep again. Can you feel it? that subtle heaviness returning to your limbs, the softness around your eyes, the way your breath has deepened, slowed, become almost effortless. These are the signs that the amber reservoirs have been refilled, not through eating, not through external intervention, but through your liver's own brilliant capacity to restore balance. You do not need to do anything else. Just rest here, in this state of metabolic calm, breathing, trusting, allowing. Your body has done the work, and now, sleep is possible again. But before you drift off, let me give you one final gift, a practice you can use tomorrow and every day after to strengthen the amber reservoirs, to ensure they are full and ready for the night ahead. This practice is called the Glycogen Loading Ritual, and it takes only 5 minutes. Here is how it works. Approximately 2 hours before bed, eat a small serving of slow-digesting carbohydrates with a small amount of fat. Not a large meal, just enough to top off your liver's glycogen stores without disrupting your sleep with digestion. Some examples: half a sweet potato with a teaspoon of butter and a sprinkle of cinnamon. A small bowl of oatmeal made with whole milk, topped with a few berries. 2 or 3 dates, stuffed with almond butter. A slice of sourdough toast with mashed avocado. These foods provide glucose, slowly released over several hours, allowing your liver to absorb and store it as glycogen, and the fat slows digestion even further, creating a sustained release that carries you through the night. This is not about eating more calories. This is about strategic timing, about giving your body the raw materials it needs, when it needs them. If you do this consistently, for even a week, you will notice a difference. The 3 a.m. wake-ups will become less frequent, and eventually, they will stop altogether. Because you will have removed the root cause, the draining of the amber reservoirs. Your liver will have what it needs to maintain steady glucose release all night long, and your adrenal glands will never receive the signal to sound the alarm. This is the foundation of unbroken sleep. Not medication, not willpower, but simple, elegant, biological optimization, supporting your body's natural systems instead of fighting against them. Breathing now, in for 4, out for 6, feeling the amber light, steady and warm, beneath your ribs. The reservoirs are full. The glucose is flowing, and you, finally, are safe to sleep. Let your eyes close. Let your body sink. The liver is taking care of you. It has always been taking care of you. And now that you know its language, now that you can sense its work, you will never feel alone in the darkness again. You are supported. You are fueled. You are ready for the deep, unbroken, restful sleep your body has been craving. The amber reservoirs, glowing steady through the night. And you, drifting now, back into dreams. You understand now about the amber reservoirs. You know why your body sounds the alarm in the night, and you have learned how to stabilize the glucose, how to speak to your liver in the language of safety. But there is another layer to this mystery, a deeper mechanism that determines whether you wake or continue sleeping. Because even when your blood sugar is stable, even when your liver is functioning perfectly, there is still a chemical war happening inside you, a battle between 2 ancient hormones, cortisol and melatonin, the hormone of wakefulness and the hormone of sleep. And the outcome of this battle determines whether you experience the unbroken ocean of deep rest or the fragmented, frustrating awakenings that have been plaguing you. This is the story of the chemical truce. And learning to negotiate this truce, learning to calm the warring hormones, is the key to permanent freedom from middle-of-the-night insomnia. Let us begin with cortisol. You already know cortisol as the stress hormone, the alarm bell that wakes you when your blood sugar dips. But cortisol is not just reactive, it is also cyclical. Your body produces cortisol on a natural 24-hour rhythm, rising and falling in a predictable wave. This wave is called the circadian cortisol curve. In a healthy system, cortisol begins to rise around 4 in the morning. It climbs steadily, peaking around 8 or 9 a.m., giving you the energy to wake up, to feel alert, to engage with the day. Then, throughout the day, it gradually declines. By evening, by the time darkness falls, cortisol should be at its lowest point, nearly absent. This low cortisol state allows melatonin to rise, and when melatonin rises unopposed, when cortisol is not interfering, sleep becomes easy, deep, restorative. But in many people, especially those with chronic stress or anxiety, the cortisol curve becomes distorted. Instead of following the natural rhythm, cortisol stays elevated throughout the day. It does not decline properly in the evening. And then, in the middle of the night, it spikes inappropriately. This is called HPA axis dysregulation. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the system that controls cortisol production, has lost its rhythm. And when the rhythm is lost, sleep becomes impossible to sustain. Because cortisol and melatonin are chemical enemies. They cannot coexist at high levels. When cortisol rises, melatonin falls. When melatonin rises, cortisol should fall. This is the natural dance. But when cortisol refuses to decline, when it keeps spiking throughout the night, melatonin is suppressed, and you wake again and again. Not because of blood sugar, not because of your liver, but because the chemical truce has been violated. Cortisol has declared war on your sleep, and until you can negotiate peace, until you can convince your adrenal glands to stand down, the battle will continue. So how do we create this truce? How do we calm the cortisol and allow the melatonin to do its work? The answer begins not at night, but during the day. Because nighttime cortisol spikes are almost always the result of daytime cortisol dysregulation. If you spend your entire day in a state of low-grade stress, if your cortisol is constantly elevated, your adrenal glands become hypersensitive. They are like guards who have been on duty too long, exhausted but vigilant, overreacting to every small signal. And at night, when your blood sugar dips even slightly, when any minor stressor occurs, they panic. They release a flood of cortisol, far more than is necessary, and you wake, heart racing, mind spinning, trapped in the false alarm. This is why daytime stress management is essential for nighttime sleep. Not just helpful, essential. You cannot expect your body to be calm at night if it has been in survival mode all day. So let us talk about how to recalibrate your cortisol rhythm, how to restore the natural wave. so that cortisol rises when it should and falls when it should. The first step is morning light exposure. Within 30 minutes of waking, get outside, or at minimum, stand by a window where natural light can reach your eyes. Even on a cloudy day, even through clouds, natural outdoor light is hundreds of times brighter than indoor lighting. And this light, hitting the photoreceptors in your eyes, sends a direct signal to your hypothalamus. It tells your circadian clock, morning has arrived. This signal triggers a healthy cortisol peak, the kind of cortisol rise that gives you energy, focus, motivation. And crucially, this morning peak sets the timer for the evening decline. When your body experiences a strong morning cortisol rise, it knows when to bring cortisol down at night. The rhythm is established, but if you wake up and immediately reach for your phone, if you stay indoors under artificial light, if you never expose yourself to natural brightness, your circadian clock becomes confused. Cortisol does not peak properly in the morning, and therefore, it does not decline properly at night. The rhythm is lost, and nighttime awakenings become inevitable. So this is non-negotiable. Morning light, every single day, within 30 minutes of waking. 10 minutes is enough. 20 minutes is ideal. Just you and the sky and the natural light that has been regulating human biology for millennia. This one practice, this simple ritual, will begin to restore your cortisol rhythm within days. You will feel the difference. More energy in the morning, more calm in the evening, and fewer awakenings at night. The second step is to identify and reduce chronic stressors. This is harder, because stress, for most people, feels unavoidable. Work deadlines, financial pressure, relationship conflicts, health worries. These are real stressors, and I am not going to tell you to simply stop caring about them. But what I will tell you is that your perception of these stressors determines their impact on your cortisol levels. Two people can face the same challenge, the same deadline, the same problem. One person's cortisol will spike and stay elevated for hours. The other person's cortisol will rise briefly, then return to baseline. The difference is not the stressor itself. The difference is the nervous system's response. And the nervous system's response can be trained. Through practices that build what researchers call stress resilience, the ability to encounter stress without becoming dysregulated. There are many ways to build stress resilience, but the most effective, the most scientifically validated, is regular meditation or breathwork. Not the kind of meditation where you sit in perfect silence for an hour, but simple, accessible, daily practices. 5 minutes in the morning of box breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. This pattern, repeated for just 5 minutes, retrains your autonomic nervous system. It strengthens your vagus nerve, the pathway that tells your adrenal glands to stand down. And over time, over weeks and months, your baseline cortisol levels drop. Your body learns, at a physiological level, that it is safe, that not every challenge requires a full stress response, that it can meet difficulties without flooding itself with cortisol. This is the foundation of the chemical truce, training your adrenals to respond proportionally instead of catastrophically. And once this training takes hold, nighttime cortisol spikes become rare because your system is no longer primed for alarm. It has learned to trust that you can handle whatever arises. The third step is evening wind down. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They stay mentally active, scrolling on screens, watching intense television, working or planning, right up until the moment they want to sleep. And then they wonder why sleep does not come, or why they wake up at 3 a.m. But here is what is happening. Screen light, especially blue light from phones and computers, suppresses melatonin production. It tricks your brain into thinking it is still daytime. And when melatonin is suppressed, cortisol remains elevated. The chemical truce cannot be established. Your body is receiving mixed signals, darkness outside, but bright light in your eyes, and so it stays in a state of partial alertness, waiting for clarity, waiting to know, is it time to sleep or time to be awake? This confusion creates fragmented sleep, light sleep, easily disrupted, vulnerable to any small cortisol spike. So you must create a clear boundary, a ritual that signals to your body, unambiguously, that the day is over. 2 hours before bed, begin the wind down. Dim the lights in your home. Turn off overhead lighting. Use only lamps and soft light sources. Put away all screens, phones, computers, televisions, and engage in calming activities. Reading a physical book, gentle stretching or restorative yoga, taking a warm bath or shower, journaling, listening to soft music or a sleep meditation. These activities, done in dim light, tell your pineal gland, the gland that produces melatonin, it is safe to begin production. And as melatonin rises, cortisol falls. The chemical truce is established. By the time you lie down to sleep, your body is already in a melatonin-dominant state. Sleep comes easily, and more importantly, sleep stays. Because when melatonin is high at the beginning of the night, it remains elevated throughout the night. Even if your blood sugar dips slightly, even if a minor stressor occurs, the melatonin buffers the cortisol response. It prevents the spike from becoming large enough to wake you. This is the power of proper wind down. It is not just about falling asleep. It is about maintaining sleep, about creating a chemical environment where cortisol cannot dominate. Now, let us return to this moment. You are awake in the middle of the night, and despite everything you now understand, despite the breathing, despite the visualization of the Amber Reservoirs, you are still here, still conscious. This means the cortisol spike was significant. The chemical truce was broken by a strong enough signal that even your melatonin could not suppress it. But you are not helpless. Even now, even in this moment, you can re-establish the truce. You can manually lower cortisol and allow melatonin to rise again. Here is how. First, we must address the physical sensations of cortisol. The jittery energy, the tension in your muscles, the feeling of alertness that makes lying still feel impossible. Cortisol creates muscle tension. It primes your body for action, for fight or flight. And as long as that tension remains, your brain interprets it as confirmation that there is danger. The alarm stays active, so we must release the tension, not through thinking, not through reasoning, but through progressive relaxation, starting with your feet. Bring your attention to your toes, your arches, your heels. Notice any tension there. And then, deliberately, tense those muscles even more. Curl your toes, flex your feet, hold the tension for 3 seconds, and then release. Let everything go soft. Feel the difference between tension and release. Your brain is learning, at a somatic level, what relaxation feels like. Now move up to your calves. Tense them. Hold. Release. Your thighs. Tense. Hold. Release. Your glutes and pelvic floor. Tense. Hold. Release. Your abdomen. Draw your navel toward your spine. Hold. Release. Your chest. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. Exhale completely. Your hands. Make tight fists. Hold. Release. Your arms. Flex your biceps. Hold. Release. Your shoulders. Lift them toward your ears. Hold. Release. Your neck. Gently tilt your head back. Hold. Release. Your face. Scrunch everything toward the center. Hold. Release. And now, scan your entire body, from your toes to the crown of your head. Notice how different you feel. The tension, mostly gone, replaced by a kind of softness, a heaviness. This is your body, letting go of the cortisol activation. The muscle tension was holding the alarm in place, and now that it is released, the alarm can quiet. But we are not done yet. Because cortisol is not just physical, it also affects your mind, creating loops of worry, catastrophic thinking, rumination. Your thoughts right now may be spinning about tomorrow, about work, about all the ways this lack of sleep will affect you. These thoughts feel urgent, compelling, important, but they are not. They are cortisol-generated simulations. Your brain, under the influence of cortisol, is trying to identify the threat. And when it cannot find an external threat, it creates internal ones. It invents problems to solve. This is how anxiety works. It is not based on reality. It is based on the chemical state of your nervous system. When cortisol is high, your brain generates anxious thoughts. When cortisol is low, those same thoughts lose their power. So the goal is not to solve the thoughts, not to figure out what you will do tomorrow, not to plan or problem solve. The goal is to recognize the thoughts as symptoms, not as truths, and to redirect your attention away from them, back to your body, back to your breath. Every time you notice your mind has wandered into worry, simply notice it. There is cortisol talking. And then, gently, bring your attention back to the sensation of breathing, to the feeling of your body sinking into the mattress, to the amber glow of the reservoirs beneath your ribs. You are not trying to empty your mind. You are simply, again and again, choosing not to engage with the cortisol-driven content. And with each choice, each redirection, the cortisol loses its grip. The thoughts slow down. They become less interesting, less urgent. Just thoughts, passing clouds, nothing more. This is the mental component of the chemical truce, disengaging from the cortisol narrative, refusing to participate in the worry loop. And as you practice this, as you redirect again and again, something begins to shift. Your body starts producing melatonin again. Not because you took a supplement, not because you did anything external, but because the conditions are right. Cortisol is declining through the progressive relaxation, through the breath, through the cognitive disengagement. And as cortisol declines, melatonin rises to fill the space. This is the natural rhythm. When one hormone falls, the other rises. The seesaw tilts, and you begin to feel it. That soft, dreamy, slightly fuzzy quality returning to your awareness. Your eyelids growing heavier. Your thoughts becoming less linear, more fragmented, the way they get just before sleep. You are entering the space again, the liminal zone between waking and sleeping. And this time, you will cross over, because the chemical truce has been re-established. Cortisol has retreated, melatonin has returned, and your body, finally, can do what it has been trying to do all along. Sleep. Let me give you one more tool, a visualization that specifically targets the adrenal glands, the source of cortisol production. Your adrenals sit atop your kidneys, small triangular organs, about the size of walnuts. Right now, they are still mildly activated, still releasing small amounts of cortisol into your bloodstream. But you can speak to them directly. Bring your attention to your lower back, just above your waist, on either side of your spine. This is where your kidneys are located, and perched on top of each kidney, like little caps, are your adrenal glands. Visualize them now, not as medical diagrams, but as living tissue, warm, pulsing gently with blood flow. And now, imagine a wave of cooling energy washing over them, like a soft, gentle rain or a cool mist. This cooling energy soothes the adrenals, calms their frantic production, tells them the emergency is over, you can rest now. With each exhale, feel the cooling spread deeper into the core of the glands, quieting the cells, slowing the hormone production, bringing everything back to baseline. The cortisol drip, slowing to a trickle, then stopping altogether. Your adrenals, finally releasing their grip, standing down from alert. And as they do, as the cortisol fades, melatonin floods in, like a tide returning, washing through your brain, your bloodstream, every cell. The hormone of sleep, reclaiming its rightful place. You can feel it now, that unmistakable heaviness, the way your body wants to melt into the bed, the way your thoughts are dissolving into images, fragments, the beginning of dreams. This is melatonin. This is the chemical truce, fully established. And in this state, nothing can wake you. Not a small blood sugar dip, not a noise, not a thought. Because melatonin creates resilience. It buffers you against disturbance. It keeps you anchored in sleep. So breathe now, slowly, deeply, feeling the cool, calm energy in your adrenals, feeling the warm, sleepy presence of melatonin. The chemical truce has been won, and you are finally free to sleep. The war is over, peace has been declared, and the unbroken ocean awaits you. You have come so far, from the moment of waking, frustrated and confused, to this place of deep understanding. You know now about the false alarm bell and how to silence it. You know about the Amber Reservoirs and how to keep them full. You know about the chemical truce and how to negotiate peace between cortisol and melatonin. But there is one final barrier to overcome, one last obstacle that stands between you and the unbroken sleep you deserve. And that obstacle is fear itself. The fear of waking again, the anticipation, the dread, the terrible certainty that tonight will be like all the other nights, that you will wake at 3 a.m. or 4 or 5 and lie there helpless, watching the minutes tick by. This fear, this anticipatory anxiety, is perhaps the most powerful sleep disruptor of all, because fear creates the very thing it fears. When you lie down at night, worried that you will wake up, your nervous system remains on guard, scanning, listening, waiting for the awakening to happen. And this vigilance, this hyperarousal, prevents deep sleep from ever fully establishing. You hover in the lighter stages, N1 and N2, never descending into the profound rest of slow-wave sleep. And because you never reach the depths, you are vulnerable to any small disturbance, any minor cortisol fluctuation, any slight shift in blood sugar, any random thought or sensation can pull you back to consciousness. The fear creates fragile sleep, and fragile sleep confirms the fear. A vicious cycle, one that has been repeating night after night, eroding your confidence, your hope, your trust in your own body. But tonight, this cycle ends, because you are going to learn not just how to fall back asleep when you wake, but how to prevent the awakening from happening in the first place. How to create sleep so deep, so stable, so resilient, that nothing can disturb it. This is the unbroken ocean, and entering it requires something more than technique. It requires a fundamental shift in your relationship with sleep, from fear to trust, from control to surrender, from fighting to allowing. Let me explain what I mean. Most people approach sleep as something they must make happen. They try, they effort, they use willpower to force themselves into unconsciousness. But sleep does not work that way. Sleep is not something you do. It is something you allow. It is a natural process that happens automatically when the conditions are right. When your nervous system feels safe, when your body feels supported, when your mind feels quiet. You cannot force these conditions, but you can create them. And once they are present, sleep arrives on its own, effortlessly, inevitably. This is the paradox of sleep. The harder you try, the more elusive it becomes. But the moment you stop trying, the moment you truly let go, it floods in. So the question is not how do I make myself sleep? The question is, how do I create the conditions where sleep can happen naturally? And the answer begins with safety. Deep, cellular, nervous system level safety. The kind of safety that allows your body to completely release vigilance, to drop its guard, to surrender into the vulnerability of unconsciousness. Most people, especially those who have struggled with insomnia, have lost this feeling of safety. Their nervous system has learned, through repeated awakenings, that sleep is dangerous territory. That letting go fully means waking up panicked, alone in the dark, trapped in alertness. And so, even when they are exhausted, even when they desperately want to sleep, their nervous system holds back. It keeps one eye open, just in case. This is called conditioned arousal, and it is the root cause of maintenance insomnia. Not blood sugar, not cortisol, though those factors matter, but the learned fear response. The nervous system's belief that deep sleep equals danger. And to break this conditioning, to restore the feeling of safety, you must prove to your nervous system again and again that deep sleep is actually the safest place to be, that nothing bad happens there, that you can let go completely, and still be okay. This proof comes through experience, through night after night of using the tools you have learned: breathing, visualization, progressive relaxation, and waking up in the morning having survived, having slept, having been okay. Each successful night weakens the conditioning. Each time you wake and then fall back asleep easily, your nervous system learns, oh, waking up is not a catastrophe after all. We can handle this. And over time, over weeks, the fear diminishes, the vigilance softens, and deep sleep, that unbroken ocean, becomes possible again. But you do not have to wait weeks for this shift to begin. You can start right now, tonight, by consciously, deliberately sending signals of safety to your nervous system. And the most powerful safety signal of all is the feeling of being held, of being supported, of being completely, utterly taken care of. When you were an infant, you slept deeply, without fear, without waking in the night. Not because your blood sugar was perfectly stable, not because your cortisol rhythm was optimized, but because you felt held. You slept in your mother's arms, or in a crib nearby, surrounded by warmth and presence. And your nervous system knew, at a primal level, that you were safe, that someone was watching over you, that you could surrender completely, because you were protected. This is the feeling we must recreate, not literally, not with another person holding you, though that can help, but through an internal sense, a somatic feeling of being held by something larger than yourself. Some people find this through spiritual practice, the feeling of being held by God, by the universe, by a benevolent presence. Others find it through visualizing themselves cradled in nature, floating on an ocean, resting on the earth, held by the ground beneath them. And others find it through imagining their own body as the holder, their skeleton as a structure, supporting every organ, every muscle, every cell, the earth beneath them, solid and dependable, holding them up. Gravity itself, gently pressing them down into rest. This is not imagination in the sense of fantasy. This is sensing what is actually true. You are held, right now, by the bed beneath you, by the structure of your own body, by the earth spinning beneath you, by the laws of physics that keep you grounded. You cannot fall. You cannot disappear. You are held completely in this moment. And when your nervous system feels this, when it truly registers the sensation of being held, it can let go. It can release the vigilance. It can trust that deep sleep is safe. So let us practice this now. Bring your attention to the points of contact between your body and the mattress. Your heels, your calves, your thighs, your hips, your lower back, your shoulder blades, your head. Feel the solid support beneath you. The mattress is holding you. You are not holding yourself up. You do not have to do anything. You can simply rest here, fully supported. Now, with each exhale, imagine yourself sinking deeper into that support, not falling through it, but being cradled by it, like sinking into warm water or settling into sand. Each exhale, a little deeper, a little more release, your body growing heavier, the mattress rising to meet you, molding around your shape. You are being held, and in being held, you can let go. Let go of the need to stay alert. Let go of the fear of waking. Let go of the effort, the trying, the control. You do not need to make sleep happen. You just need to allow yourself to be held, and sleep will come. Not because you earned it, not because you did everything perfectly, but because being held is the natural condition for sleep, and your body finally remembers this. Now let us go deeper into the actual architecture of sleep, because understanding what happens during deep sleep, understanding what the unbroken ocean actually is, will help you trust it. Sleep is not a single state. It is a cycle, moving through distinct stages, each with its own purpose. When you first fall asleep, you enter N1, a light transition stage, lasting only a few minutes. Then you descend into N2, slightly deeper, where your brain begins to produce sleep spindles, bursts of electrical activity that help consolidate memories. And then, if the conditions are right, if you feel safe enough, you drop into N3, slow wave sleep, delta sleep, the unbroken ocean. This is the deepest form of non-REM sleep. Your brain waves slow to 1 to 4 cycles per second, huge rolling waves of electrical activity, synchronized across millions of neurons. In this state, your body undergoes profound restoration. Growth hormone is released, repairing tissues, building muscle, strengthening bones. Your immune system activates, clearing infections, consolidating immune memory. Your glymphatic system, the brain's waste clearance mechanism, flushes out metabolic debris, including the proteins that would otherwise accumulate and cause neurodegeneration. This is where healing happens. This is where your body resets itself. And the longer you spend in N3, the more restorative your sleep becomes. But here is the problem. N3 is also the most vulnerable stage to disruption. It requires complete nervous system calm. Any spike in cortisol, any surge of adrenaline, any activation of the fight or flight response will instantly pull you out of N3. You will ascend back through N2 into N1 and wake. This is why people with anxiety, with stress, with conditioned arousal, rarely spend enough time in deep sleep. Their nervous system will not allow it. It keeps them in the lighter stages, where they can wake quickly if needed. And without sufficient N3 sleep, they wake in the morning feeling unrefreshed, exhausted, despite having been in bed for 8 hours. Because it is not the quantity of sleep that matters most. It is the quality. It is the depth. And depth requires trust. The nervous system must trust that it is safe to go all the way down, to release consciousness completely, to enter the vulnerability of profound rest. So how do we build this trust? How do we convince the nervous system that deep sleep is not dangerous? Through a process called interoceptive training, learning to sense and influence your internal state. You have already been doing this. When you visualized the Amber Reservoirs, when you practiced progressive relaxation, when you cooled your adrenal glands, you were training interoception. But now we are going to take it further. We are going to practice consciously, descending through the stages of sleep, guiding yourself deliberately from wakefulness into N1, into N2, and finally into N3. This is not sleep itself, but it is so close to sleep that your nervous system cannot tell the difference. And through repeated practice, your body learns this descent is safe, that you can go all the way down and come back up without harm. And once this lesson is learned, once the pathway is well worn, sleep happens automatically because your nervous system knows the way. Here is how we practice the descent. You are lying in bed, eyes closed, body supported. Begin with the breath, in for 4, out for 6. This is the doorway, the transition from waking to sleeping. With each breath, you are crossing the threshold. Now, bring your attention to your body and imagine that your body is becoming heavier, not tense, but dense, as if gravity is slowly increasing. Your limbs sinking into the mattress, your torso settling deeper, your head pressing gently into the pillow. You are not making this happen. You are simply noticing it, observing the natural heaviness that comes as your muscles release, as your nervous system calms. This heaviness is N1, the threshold stage. You are no longer fully awake, but not yet asleep. You are hovering in that in-between space. Stay here for a few breaths, just noticing the heaviness, the way your body feels, different than it did a moment ago. Slower, softer, less defined. Now, imagine that your awareness is beginning to fragment. Thoughts arising and disappearing without connection. Images flashing briefly, then fading. You are not following a train of thought anymore. You are just noticing fragments, random words, fleeting pictures, sensations without source. This fragmentation is N2. You are deeper now. Your brain is starting to produce sleep spindles, though you cannot feel them. But you can sense the change in your awareness. The way thoughts have lost their coherence, the way time feels strange, elastic. You might lose track of how long you have been lying here. That is normal. That is N2. Stay here, breathing slowly, letting the fragments come and go. And now, imagine that even the fragments are fading. Your awareness becoming smooth, like a still pond. No thoughts, no images, just presence. Dark, warm, heavy. This is the edge of N3, the unbroken ocean. You are about to cross over. And as you do, as you let yourself sink into this smooth, warm darkness, repeat to yourself, silently, I am safe here. Nothing will harm me. I can let go completely. And then, stop repeating, stop thinking. Just be in the darkness, in the warmth, in the heaviness. This is as close as you can come to N3 while remaining conscious. And even this practice tells your nervous system the depth is safe. Do this every night as you are falling asleep. Guide yourself deliberately through the stages. Heaviness, fragmentation, smooth darkness. And each time you do, you are carving a neural pathway, a route from waking to the unbroken ocean. And soon, very soon, your body will follow this route automatically, without conscious effort, without fear. It will descend naturally into the depths and stay there all night long. But there is one more element we must address: the question of what to do when you wake in the middle of the night. Because even with everything you have learned, even with perfect blood sugar, perfect cortisol, perfect interoceptive training, you may still wake occasionally, not every night, not forever, but sometimes. Because waking briefly during the night is actually normal. Most people wake 4 or 5 times per night. They just do not remember it because they fall back asleep within seconds, before full consciousness forms, before they have time to think or worry or check the clock. These micro-awakenings are part of the natural sleep cycle. They happen as you transition between stages, or as you shift position, or as your brain briefly checks the environment for threats, and they are harmless, unless you react to them with fear. If you wake and immediately think, "Oh no, not again. I am awake. I will never get back to sleep," then the cortisol spike happens. The anxiety cascade begins, and you are trapped. But if you wake and simply notice, without judgment, I am awake for a moment, and then redirect to the breath, to the Amber Reservoirs, to the feeling of being held, you will fall back asleep almost immediately. So the practice is this: when you wake in the night, do not look at the clock. Do not check the time. Do not calculate how many hours you have left until morning, because that calculation, that thought, activates your prefrontal cortex, and once your thinking brain is engaged, cortisol rises. Instead, keep your eyes closed, stay in your body, and immediately, begin the breath. In for 4, out for 6. Then bring your attention to the Amber Reservoirs. Feel the golden glow beneath your ribs, the glucose flowing steadily, the metabolic calm, and then imagine yourself sinking back into the mattress, being held, supported, safe. Do not try to fall asleep. Just rest here, in this state of calm, supported wakefulness, and within a few minutes, maybe 5, maybe 10, you will notice the shift, the heaviness returning, the fragmentation of thoughts, the smooth darkness. You are descending again, back into the ocean, and this time, you will go even deeper, because your body knows. It has done this before. It has woken and returned to sleep, successfully. The fear is gone, the pathway is clear, and sleep comes easily. Every time you do this, every time you wake and fall back asleep without struggle, you are retraining your nervous system. You are proving again and again that waking is not dangerous, that you can handle it, that sleep is always available. And over time, the awakenings become less frequent, and when they do happen, they become shorter, until eventually you reach the point where you wake, notice briefly, and fall back asleep within seconds, without full consciousness ever forming. This is the goal, not to never wake, but to wake so briefly, so effortlessly, that it does not matter. You are sleeping through the night, because the awakenings are too short to count. This is the unbroken ocean, not a rigid, unchanging state, but a flexible, resilient, self-correcting system, one that can handle minor disturbances without breaking, one that returns to depth automatically, naturally, because your nervous system finally trusts sleep. So let us bring all of this together now. All the pieces, all the practices, all the understanding, into one unified approach, the protocol for unbroken sleep. During the day, you expose yourself to morning light within 30 minutes of waking. You eat balanced meals with adequate protein, fat, and complex carbohydrates. You practice 5 minutes of breath work or meditation to build stress resilience. You avoid alcohol in the evenings, or at minimum, consume it with food. 2 hours before bed, You perform the Glycogen Loading Ritual, eating a small serving of slow-digesting carbohydrates with fat. You begin your wind-down, dimming lights, putting away screens, engaging in calming activities. When you lie down to sleep, you practice the descent: breath, heaviness, fragmentation, smooth darkness. You guide yourself deliberately into the unbroken ocean. And if you wake in the night, you do not panic. You do not check the time. You simply breathe, visualize, sink back into support, and you fall asleep again. Within minutes, this is the protocol. Simple, elegant, effective. Not a quick fix, not a pill, but a sustainable, long-term solution. One that works with your body, not against it. One that restores trust instead of forcing control. And one that, over time, gives you back the sleep you have been missing. The deep, restorative, unbroken sleep. That is your birthright. You were designed to sleep well. Your body knows how. It has simply forgotten because of stress, because of fear, because of the conditioning of repeated awakenings. But now, you are remembering. With each breath, each practice, each night of using these tools, you are remembering what it feels like to trust sleep, what it feels like to surrender into the depths, what it feels like to wake in the morning truly rested. And this remembering is not just mental, it is cellular, it is nervous system level. It is a return to the natural state that has always been available to you. You just needed to find the way back. And now, you have. The pathway is clear, the tools are in your hands. The unbroken ocean awaits you. So close your eyes now. Feel your body, heavy and supported. Feel the Amber Reservoirs, glowing warm beneath your ribs. Feel the chemical truce, cortisol falling, melatonin rising, and feel yourself beginning to sink into the heaviness, into the fragmentation, into the smooth, warm, endless darkness. You are safe here. You are held. You can let go. All the way down into the depths, into the ocean, unbroken, endless, home. And when you wake in the morning, you will remember only this: the feeling of deep rest, the feeling of true safety, the feeling of a body finally at peace. This is your sleep now. This is the unbroken ocean, and it is yours forever. Sleep well.